of Rome Police and Fire Commission meeting to order for Monday, February 13th, 2023 at 9 o'clock a.m. Item number 2 is roll call, starting on my right.
Giordino.
Baker.
Amen.
Commissioners Beck and Benkowski are excused. Also present are Police Chief Jason Lobby, Fire Chief Mark Kane, and Town Administrator Jamie Gebert. Item number 3 is to certify the posting of the meeting. Greg?
The meeting was posted Thursday, January 9th, emailed to Wisconsin Rapids Tribune at 10:46, posted at Rome Town Hall, Police Department, Fire Department at 11 a.m., Quick Trip at 11:10, and posted at Nakusa Port Edward State Bank at 11:15.
Thank you. Item number 4 is to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
I motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Vito, second by Greg to approve the agenda. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 5 is the citizen comment portion of the agenda. We have no citizens present that wish to speak. The next section is no action contemplated except possible referral to future agendas. And I think that's, the report shouldn't be in there, I don't think. But anyway, we'll start with the police department report. Chief?
In January, I attended instructor in-service training. Officer Upton attended drug-free Adams County meetings. I attended check-in with the town administrator. Officers handled 111 calls for service, issued 28 citations, 10 written warnings. The 22 boat patrol claim of $17,948.68 was submitted to the DNR. The DNR audits that claim and provides us reimbursement in the range of 70 to 75% of the claim in early spring, depending on how many claims are received by them. Routine maintenance was done to the fleet in January. For my report, if you look on the second page, it looks different than what it has in the past. We had an issue with these reports with somebody complaining about the types of information that we were releasing. These reports are posted on the internet and become public record once you folks get them. So if you look, there's no addresses or anything on there because we had some complaints in the situation of like a medical emergency. Now the house is empty and you've printed the address in the report that's online. And so anyway, we changed the format of that report not to list the addresses. The report was being taken off the website and posted on social media, which hadn't happened in the past, which generated a lot of negative comments that why are you putting actual addresses of where the incidents happened out for the public to see. So it's the same report without the addresses, and it lists it by case number instead of, I think before it was grouped by the day it happened, so it should be pretty close anyway because the case numbers go in order.
Okay. Any questions for the chief regarding this report?
The only other thing, it lists the officer that handled it, which the other one didn't. So it subtracts the address but lists or groups the officers that had the complaints.
What, in your dispositions, what is CTA? There was one that you had regarding a slide off or something on the,
Citation adult.
okay. And then there was one other one I saw. I'm assuming UNF is unfounded
Yep.
and ACT?
Active.
Okay. Any other questions for Chief Lobby?
There's one TAR's transfer.
Oh, okay,
They go out like a traffic complaint. If it goes south into the county, it's
I see. Okay. Then we'll move on to the fire department report with Chief Kane.
For January 2023, fire department responded to a total of 13 calls, 2 fire calls, 3 EMS calls, 3 service, 4 standby calls, and 1 false alarm. Currently staffed with 24 members. Our training for December, and I'm sorry, should be training for January, included CPR refresher and Lucas device refresher. Our fire trainings were operator training, first in and size up reports, along with self-rescue. I've attended meetings with the Rome Town Board, Adams County Officers Association, Town Administrator, and the Adams County Mabus Division 163. Our monthly meeting for the fire department was held on January 16th. Hunter Abbey completed his hazardous material and also that completed firefighter 1 state certification for him. All spring mid-state classes began in late January. Routine maintenance was done, inspections performed on all of our trucks. 4 new SCBAs were delivered and put into service in January, and also Blitz nozzle was delivered, and we'll begin training with that in March. The department provided EMS standby for the polar bear jump and 3 ice race events, and our fire inspections for the 2023 season will begin in late March. Short-term rental inspections continue as needed.
Okay, thank you. Can you tell us what a Blitz nozzle is?
A Blitz nozzle is a portable high-flow nozzle that will allow us to be able to put up to 500 gallons per minute onto a fire and be left unattended. So it frees up manpower for us on the fire scene. So to be able to flow that much water, you would need 2 people. To man that hose with this new nozzle, you'll be able to set it and walk away from it. It has a built-in safety feature that if it starts to tip or creep away, that it automatically shuts itself off to prevent a runaway and decrease any chance of injury to anybody.
Okay, thank you. And you said that's ground mounted?
Yes.
So I take it that's got some type of stand, so that you could put it inside a building?
It could, yes, you could. It has 2 legs that swing out with carbide tips on the bottom. So that's what it, and then the design of the nozzle itself actually forces itself onto the ground.
Okay,
Stop by the fire station anytime. I'll be glad to show it off.
okay.
Okay, I have a question now on your page 2. Based on what Jason said about addresses being connected to EMS calls or whatever, is there a way that you can change your report so that you are just maybe taking out the address so that
Definitely.
these people, whoever is inquiring about that, doesn't get the address?
Definitely can.
I was just make that suggestion.
It will be that way for next month.
Thank you. Any other questions now, or any questions for the fire chief? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move on to the next section is discuss and possible action on the following items. Number 6, approval of the December 16th, 2023 meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I second.
Motion by Greg, second by Vito to approve the minutes from December 16th. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 7, any agenda items which may include action, expressly state the action may be taken or contemplated. Under old business, we have none. Under new business, we have promotion of a police officer's full-time status. That's Officer Winker. Jason, do you just want to give us kind of an update as to how he's done and how he's progressed since he came back?
Yeah, everything's good. His performance review is done and it was an acceptable performance review, so he crossed his end of probation date earlier this month, I believe February 1st, so it's on the agenda to appoint him as permanent because he was probationary for the last year.
Okay. Anybody have any questions regarding this item as far as the status of Officer Winker?
Does this go before the town board, or is, no? Okay.
Nope, this is part of the authority granted in 6213 that the commission, I make probationary appointments, the commission after the probation makes the permanent appointment.
Then I'll make a motion that we move Officer Cody Winker from probationary status to full-time status, permanent with the police department.
I'll second.
So, motion by me, Greg, second by Vito, to approve the permanent status for Officer Winker. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 8, next agenda items. Jason, do you wanna just touch on what we had discussed regarding the interviews?
So the boat patrol interviews have to come through, so in the past I did those, but we were gonna bring them before the commission at some point, so if down the road 3 years those people are promoted, they've been interviewed by the commission prior to being promoted. However, right now, their availability, because they're in school, would be on Saturdays, so I don't know if the commission wants me to appoint them and interview them later, so they're promotable to the road, or just interview them, or
On that,
what
we would,
your wishes
we
are.
would go through this.
We do
For
have,
boat patrol people.
we could, or we do have, boat patrol questions that we have, that would be separate from these, but, we could use either one depending on what the decision of the commission would be.
Well, as far as boat patrol officers, we probably won't hold them to these questions.
To a higher standard, basically.
Only be, what happens if they don't, do a very good job on these, but they'd still make good boat patrol officers, so.
And, okay, do you wanna explain how the age and what's happening with these people? As
Well,
far as-
all of them on these reserve programs for the most part are pre-academy students. It's the same with the Wood County Reserves, because as you'll see later in the meeting, we've had a full-time ad posted since you guys met last in the middle of December, and would we get 4 applicants? So we're having to take these people a lot younger, so we train them in firearms and basic use of force. They're given very limited rope on what they can do. I mean, there's no going out making traffic stops, there's no responding to calls.
So
They're-
this
they're
is all
grinding
before they
away.
go through the academy.
Yes,
And now when you say you train in firearms, is there a state certified course they have to go through?
yes, cause I'm a state certified firearms instructor, as is Brian Upton, so we can teach the academy, which I don't do, but I think Brian has been up at Mid-State and been part of that recruit
So
academy.
they're not going through the academy, they have no powers of arrest.
They have powers of arrest. The state of Wisconsin, you can hire a police officer, and they have 1 year to go to the academy after they're hired, and they have 5 years to get an associate degree or 60 college credits. So these people that we've hired, I think the last 3 years or so, haven't had the academy when they've been on the boat patrol. The majority of them, because quite frankly, we wouldn't have a boat patrol if we were looking for people that had already been through the academy.
So in essence, then, what I'm getting here is they're cadets and they're being trained on the job.
They're sworn police officers that have limited duties, similar to the reserves. So if you go to Wood County, the Wood County Reserve Program, Jeremy Keith runs that. They have about 18 reserve deputies. They patrol the parks, so they're told by management, your job is in the park, not out on the highway. You're in there writing underage drinking tickets and stuff in the park. Ours, they're told by me, your job is the boat. We usually have them take the town car, so they're not even in a police car to go to the lake. And when they're on the water, they're a sworn officer, so they have the rights as a sworn officer to enforce chapter 30 of Wisconsin statutes, which is the boating law by the department, so. We've been doing that for, I don't know how many years now, 5 or so, but the reserve program was in place when I started here. People were applying for the Wood County Reserves and getting hired right out of high school on the reserves and then going through the academy.
So,
If the commission doesn't wish to do that, I mean, that's, you guys' decision. If you don't want those type of people hired, you're hiring, firing, and discipline, Vito, so if you don't agree with that, I guess you're here to say that as one of the commissioners here that you don't, but we won't have a boat patrol if we don't hire those people, cause that's all that's out there to work the boat. Same thing with these reserve programs that Wood County has. You're not gonna get people that have the academy because they can apply for a full-time job and be hired, so.
so currently Jason has, 2 people that live in Rome. And I have another, young lady who sent in an application, but she only wanted boat patrol. She didn't want to be interviewed for a police officer position. So the question is then, do we want to interview these people? Do you want Jason to just do his own interview? I think, Greg, you were one to kind of stress that you wanted to talk to these people or interview these people.
You know, and as of right now, you've always done the interviews. We haven't had anything to do with.
Not for a long time.
For the boat patrol, and personally, I think it's going well. I think that we've done very well with our boat patrol people. I don't wanna give them this interview.
No.
So it's either make up a whole nother one for boat patrol so that we can see them, but just personally, I wouldn't change anything. You know, I think it's going well. We haven't had any problems with our boat patrol
So,
people.
so by that, what you're saying is then you would agree to let Jason just do the interviews for boat patrol?
Yeah.
You know, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I'm still kind of reeling about the whole issue about we got people on the patrol with firearms, and there's no kind of training per se. Does the firearm classes teach you when to use of deadly force? So that's part of it. And what about training for laws? I mean, these people are put on a boat. Is there somebody on that boat with them that can guide them and supervise with them, or are they just on their own?
The full-time road officer supervises them.
But he's not on the boat.
No, he's not.
There, if Jason does his interviews and selects the reserve people to be on the boat, they start training in April and May, so that then they can be available, which their first official day on the boat would actually be, on the water, would be Memorial Day weekend.
I mean, what about? I mean, they have classroom training.
They
Remember, you have a group in here teaching them laws and how to deal with the.
We teach them what they need to know, so we teach them the laws for boating. So chapter 30 of the state statute, because they're told by me and Sergeant Upton that that's the only area that they're allowed to enforce. Just the same as Wood County Reserve Program, even though they're a fully sworn deputy that hasn't been through the academy and on patrol in a squad car, they're told you stay in the parks. You don't stop drunk drivers you become a good witness and call a regular deputy to handle something that's outside of the park. The same thing on the lake. They're out there to write, citations and
Okay, well, if it works, it works.
obviously we haven't done it that long, probably the last 5 years, but it's changed due to the job market. I mean, if we wanna have a boat patrol,
I mean, okay, you know, like I say, my only concern is the fact is you got a kid out there and he doesn't have the training from the academy dealing with issues. What if someone gets combative? I mean,
well, that's part of the training we do in April is DAT training and, firearms training, and we have certified instructors to teach that. They're just not getting the full, 720-hour academy. Because some of the stuff they're not doing either. I mean, they're very limited on what they're gonna do. They're not ever gonna go to a domestic abuse. They're gonna get on the radio or phone and call it in. If they see people fighting on shore, they're gonna call it into the road officer.
okay.
And I agree with you, Vito. Ideally, we would have people that are certified, but as Mike probably can attest, even when we had 25, 30 people applying for the boat patrol, what would happen is if you hired a second-year student, they'd quit in July, And then you're done, because even though you've been through the academy, I just can't hire you and put you in a boat just for the reasons you said, because the academy, what I can tell you when I was there, taught you nothing on ATV laws, and it taught you nothing on boating laws. It taught you to be a cop on the street somewhere, so we'd still have to bring those people in and train them as to what we want done on our lakes.
No, I understand what you're getting at. To me, it seems like what we call it a community service officer, but they weren't sworn officers. And a community service officer can issue citations, parking tickets, and they're not carrying a weapon. Carrying a
problem-
weapon changes the whole picture.
And the town of Rome could do that. The town of Rome could put them out unarmed, but the DNR would not reimburse any of our boat patrol funds. The DNR program says they'll be armed officers and sworn by December 31st of the year that they do the patrol in. So the whole law is written to allow us to do what we're doing. Those officers that are on that patrol have to be certified by December 31st of the year they do the patrol to put their hours on the claim. So when I was hired, in fact, the chief did that. He hired a couple people out of the school, put them out there without guns. It got to the end of the year when they submitted the claim, and the entire claim was denied because they said these people weren't sworn and didn't have arrest powers, and the claim was denied. So that's a state issue that I have no control over with the DNR as to what the,
I mean, I'm looking also, what about liabilities? What happens if something happens out there? Some defense attorney will rip you apart,
That's
saying
what
this is not a certified officer per se.
well, it is by the state of Wisconsin. I mean, these officers, when they're hired, are right in the state list of certified officers. They're put into the ACADIS system, and they're listed as ready to go by the state of Wisconsin.
Okay,
Again, it comes back to the choice of we hire the people like that, or we use our full-time CSO on the boat, and when that person is off or has other duties, there's no boat patrol. And the town board has indicated that that's not the way they wanna go, but obviously I'm not in charge of hiring and firing. That's all in you guys' wheelhouse. So if you say no people that don't have the academy and get a vote of 3 people on this committee, we'll take it to the town board and they'll have to change how they do business.
Okay,
I mean, I guess Jamie could check with our insurance company. I've never done that based on that there's other programs like this in numerous other departments. I don't know what our insurance company would say.
It hasn't been an issue that they've brought up to date.
okay, then what is our response to this? Do we want the chief to do the interviews then, like he's done the past 4 or 5 years? Or do we wanna bring these people in so that we can talk to them first and then, recommend to the chief that they be considered for boat patrol?
You know my feeling on it. You want a motion?
If you'd like to make one, sure.
Sure. I'll make the motion that, that our police chief continues to do the interviews.
and I'll second.
Okay, then there's a motion by Greg and a second by Vito to allow Chief Lobby then to continue advertising and interviewing for the boat patrol. Is there any other discussion regarding that issue?
Just under discussion, Mike, I think when these people do complete their academy in December, then I'll send them to you for, so you guys can interview them, because they are on the roster, and at that time, I have, you know,
So they'd
the
be,
whole promotion issue, so we don't run into if somebody leaves that they've already been, vetted by this.
sure. They'd still be then considered part-time officers, or interviewing then for the part-time officer position, or an eligibility
They'd
list
just be
position?
Yeah, they'd just be cleared to be promoted, and then you could use your regular questions, cause
Okay.
they would have been through the academy.
And I know it'd be difficult for somebody that hasn't been through the academy to answer the questions that we currently have.
So maybe that's the best course in the new policy to set, that if I'm hiring boat patrol, that as soon as they complete the academy, they're interviewed here, so that if there's a full-time opening, they can be promoted.
Okay, so,
Mr. Chairman, I don't see an agenda item that's an action item, so I don't know that you can take a motion on that. Cause there isn't an agenda item on,
Is this because it's under next agenda?
well, but it's not an action item. right? Dates and times is not an action item, so I don't know that you can take a motion, you don't have an action item on your
Okay,
So we could do that next agenda and put it on the agenda for next meeting, right?
You could if you wanted to make a formal action on it. I don't know that you're changing policy at this point, though,
no,
either.
I don't think we are, since we've done this for the last 4 or 5 years. And I'd have to refer back to our policy manual to see if in fact, when we redid our manual, if in fact it was, the chief was then given the responsibility to do the interviews. I just don't remember.
So then I should retract that motion. We can't make a motion
Okay,
today because it's not under,
so you're gonna withdraw your motion then?
yes.
Vito, you're gonna withdraw your second?
Yeah,
Okay,
Okay, then we can put it on the agenda?
yes, you can.
Okay.
Put it on the agenda for next meeting.
can I make a comment here about that, Jason?
Sure.
If this boat patrol are considered police officers, then by statute, they have to come before us to hire. Correct? And because we interview police officers, candidates, and then they come to you. Correct?
Yes and no, the commission can set the hiring process however they want to. There's other commissions that choose not to hire or to interview people. They
No.
do, per statute, you have to appoint full-time police officers, like you did Cody Winker. I can hire somebody probationary, but before they're appointed to a permanent status, the commission makes the appointment to a permanent status.
Okay, so, but this would be considered part-time
This would be considered part-time.
or seasonal, whatever.
So we've had discussion, and actually it's like Jamie said, it's really not on the agenda, so we probably could discuss it the next time when it's actually printed on the agenda. But basically, our attorney says part-time people, both in the fire department and police department, don't fall under 6213. They can be dismissed without going through that whole process that's outlined in there. That our attorney, labor attorney's opinion is 6213 is for full-time members of,
Do you have a guideline that you follow hiring these boat officers?
like, what do you mean?
In other words, like an outline, like, okay, do you background check? A psychological, you might hire some guy that, or, does he have a felony issue? I mean, do we have a guideline, or are you just taking them because they're in high school and they're majoring in criminal justice?
Every single person, Vito, that I've hired in this police department has gone through an extensive background investigation to include talking to departments where they look, talking about citations that they've been issued, and we don't make any exceptions. For boat patrol full-time, we still do the full background. Under law, a background's required before you can appoint any police officer. A background is required by state law, background investigation. All of those steps are done regardless of who we hire.
Okay.
So far, give me a number, because we've hired several boat patrol people into full-time, have we not? And the reason that we started doing that, before, we used to just put out the interview, or, people to apply, and got our applications, but it's gotten so hard. So now, we get a chance to work with the boat patrol person maybe for 2 years, and they go through the academy, and now they kinda know a little bit more, so we've hired from within a number of times, which has helped us, cause otherwise, you've seen some of the applicants come in and talk to us. Okay, so,
No, I understand, but I don't want to throw caution to the wind because of the way the job market is. I mean, I understand trying to find full-time officers is hard because we have several factors involved, whether it be pay, they want to use this as a stepping stone. I mean, the fact that, they're not going to get promoted if they sit here because they only got 2 ranking officers. But when you start hiring people just for the sake that they're taking criminal justice in school and you have no background, I mean, Just because you
I'll
take
stop
criminal
I'll
ju-
stop you there, Vito. Number one, this isn't on the agenda, and number two, now you're attacking me, my credibility here. I wouldn't put somebody out on the street
I'm
that I
not
didn't think
attacking
passed
your
everything.
credibility.
Yeah,
I'm
you are.
quite-
You're saying I'm hiring people just because that's all I got to hire, and that I don't do, and I won't tolerate you saying that to me.
I didn't say that. You're
right,
assuming
Discussion
something
should
here.
be done. It's not on the agenda.
You're assuming a lot here. I'm just
I'm just
questioning.
listening to your words. Then you better rephrase how you're saying stuff, and it's not on the agenda, so let's end it. If you and I want to talk after the meeting, I'll go over in detail how I hire people over there. My office door is always open for you to come and ask me questions and anything you want to know. But I'm not going to take it in public, you making accusations about how I hire.
All right, what else do we want to put on for the next agenda?
Okay, we've got that. We always do staffing.
Okay.
Fire chief, will you have a start of summer events that'll be happening with the fire department that could be added for the next agenda? Okay, just
Okay,
to start getting those dates out there.
okay, fire department, what should I call those?
Public events. All right. Anything else on the next agenda items?
I don't believe so, not that I can think of.
Okay. Then, in order then to change things and give the chief the authority to hire the boat patrol people, I think we would have to have a meeting, in March. Okay, versus going 2 months.
Okay.
So, let me look. Could we do it? Are you now, I'm gonna be gone on the 13th of March, which would be the second Monday. How is March 6th, first Monday in March?
If you do it early April, Mike, it should be fine for me. If the commission approves that, I don't have, agenda postings or the timelines that you guys have, so your normal meeting, if it's early April, would probably work
April.
sufficiently.
So you like April better?
Well, it's up to, look at your schedules. I don't know what, if you're gonna be around or you've got other plans.
I'm clear March and April.
Vito?
Just tell me the date and the time.
Okay, well, then how about, in order to give Jason a bunch of time in April, how about April 3rd?
What day is it?
That would be a Monday,
Monday.
What time?
9 o'clock.
Okay, and that's a secondary meeting. We're gonna have another meeting behind it.
Well, we'll make that our regular meeting, because at that point, we have to, first off, I think it's gonna fall on us to let Jamie know whether or not Greg is going to seek reappointment or not. And so we may have to, maybe in next agenda item, Greg, for March or April would be to, determine whether or not, there's going to be a reappointment or notify the town administrator that there's gonna be a vacancy that they're gonna have to advertise for. And Jamie, how much time would you normally need for advertising, or how far out do you go?
So we'll advertise for commissioners regardless. We always just do a legal notice, so, that should be fine. We might, by the 3rd, given that the election is on the 4th, we should be okay with that.
Okay, so then let's make the next meeting April 3rd, 9 o'clock in the morning, and that'll be a regular meeting. And then the issue for Jason to do the boat patrol staffing would fall probably under new business, wouldn't you think?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else before we go into closed session?
So no meeting in March, next meeting April
April 3rd, 9 o'clock. Can you tell me if there's a young lady sitting out there, Jamie?
I can just look quick.
And just to,
No, there is not.
okay,
What time you got them scheduled to
I had
come?
them for 9:15 and 9:45.
And nobody's here.
And you didn't get notified by the first candidate at all that she wasn't going to make an appearance?
No, I didn't.
Okay, then she's gonna fall off the radar. They were sent letters, I sent them letters, for the date and the time, where to go. And I called them as well to let them know that we were gonna interview them, so, the first candidate then will be, obviously is not here, so she won't be acceptable for any further, follow-up with the police department here. The second candidate, I told her 9:45, so I think, just so everybody knows, once we come out of closed session, there will be no more business discussed by the commission. We'll just go into an adjournment then. So I think we'll just take a little break and see if our next candidate, appears for 9:45 interview. If she does, then we'll go into closed session.
Did you actually read closed session? I'm sorry if I missed
I
it.
did not.
We have not.
You should read closed session and take your vote.
Okay. Then item number 10 is the commission to adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 19.85 sub 1 sub C of the Wisconsin statute, which reads, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises a responsibility for the purpose of reviewing the police department applicants. So we need a roll call vote. Vito?
Aye.
Baker says yes. Daney?
Yes.
Okay, then the commission will be in closed session, waiting for our next interview to appear.